The year is 2011, and this is Tomas Sakalauskas. He's a manager at an IT company in Lithuania, but his job is monotonous, repetitive, boring. So he decides to break away to start his own business in the hopes of leaving the mundane 9-to-5 behind to pursue his creative dreams. So he co-founds a company called Akshon and gets to work developing this amazing program, one used for sorting tasks on a digital corkboard. How thrilling. A year goes by, and Tom realizes that maybe this digital organizational tool is actually not that exciting. He left his old job to do something creative, something truly fulfilling, and darn it, he was gonna follow through. So he shifts his focus again, this time to mobile games.
Hi, I'm Anthony Starr. Hey, here we go, last word. Yes.
Unfortunately, this half-and-half development process was just producing 2 mediocre products, so Tom and a few members of his team decided to commit fully to developing the game. But it was stressful. Every month the game spent in development was a month spent burning company funds. The clock was ticking. Now, you might be thinking, who gets creatively inspired by mobile games? Like, what could Tom have possibly seen in this slop? But you have to remember, this is 2012. And at the time, there were some legitimately quality games on the market. Fruit Ninja, Cut the Rope, Jetpack Joyride, Infinity Blade, and yeah, this thing. This kind of stuff was gold back in the early 2010s, and likely influenced Tom's desire to create his own premium mobile game. But he had to make a decision. What kind of game would the team commit to? A puzzle game? An endless runner? How about a game about a bird jumping through pipes?
Нет.
Let's make a racing game instead. So the team charges full steam ahead, but the mobile gaming space is undergoing a change. You see, in 2009, the App Store introduced in-app purchases, which began the trend of free-to-play games, free in quotation marks, which featured microtransactions. This trend coincided with the first year Tom started working on his game, and unfortunately, this abomination, a game so wretched and vile you could argue it's the source of all the world's problems to this day, was unleashed upon the world. Candy Crush. We're getting off track. Let's go back to Tom. Oh, he's still working on his game. For 2 years, he continues development. Uh-oh. Tom realizes the premium mobile gaming market is all but dead. It's all about freemium games now. In a moment of panic, Tom thinks to himself, everything I've learned about game development is redundant in the mobile space. I should have studied psychology instead. So, he does just that. During his research, he latches onto the belief that the morals of free-to-play games are questionable at best. In his own words, quote, I decided if it was down to these ethics, I should sell drugs instead of making free-to-play games. There must be another way. Tom still wants to create a high-quality game, which means he'll have to move to either gaming consoles or PC. Since it's much harder for an indie developer to publish on console, he decides on the latter. But there's one small issue. Any game he creates now is still at least 2 years out from completion, and the company is out of money. Crestfallen, he makes the decision to pull the plug on his team and end development of the game. But that just doesn't sit right with him. Sure, without company backing, he'd have to fund the project with his own savings if he wanted to continue. Tom has enough to support his family, and he still has lofty ambitions as a game developer, but with 3 kids, that can get expensive. But you know what? You only live once. So he decides to take one last shot at being a game developer, and this time, he's doing it alone. The year is now 2014. While coming up with ideas, Tom was approached by Intel. They wanted him to create a prototype for their RealSense camera, a motion capture camera for PC similar to Xbox's Kinect. While tinkering with arm tracking using the device's motion capture, he had an idea for a game.
I've got an idea!
One where the player has complete control over all of their characters' limbs, a physics-based puzzle game inspired by Portal and Limbo. The game would focus on a regular construction worker completing carefully crafted puzzles. To fit with the mundane premise, the game would simply be called Human.
What is that?
But he decided that using the Intel camera simply wasn't good enough. The only way to control movement with the camera was by using your head, which was awkward and clunky. So he moved on to a standard controller. First, he tried a control scheme where you control both arms separately with 2 control sticks, while your legs were controlled using the D-pad. This layout succeeded in offering precision movement, but it also required you to play the game like this. Instead, he shifted to a simpler control layout, with each stick controlling one leg and triggers used to toggle to arm controls. Now, he finally had Human in a somewhat playable state. He just needed some playtesting done. My boy, I need you to play my game, now. Oh cool, what's it called? Human. Tom was curious whether his son would understand the puzzles that he felt were, quote, clever, well-placed, and cannot be bypassed. But when his son picked up the controller, Tom was shocked. He wasn't even trying. Perhaps the objective of the game was unclear, or maybe it was just boring. Either way, Tom felt like a failure. That is, until he heard his son laugh. He was actually having fun. And this was the moment Tom knew he was on the right track. The game would need to be reworked significantly, but his savings were running dangerously low. So he locked in the idea, knowing that if this game failed, he'd have to return to some sort of management job to provide for his family. So he did away with tight guided puzzles, as it was now clear to him that the game was better as a comedy, where the unwieldy controls would have you flopping around like a fool, and the fun came out of your failures rather than your successes. With a clear vision, the race was on. Tom grinded for weeks until he got a prototype ready, which he quickly uploaded to itch.io. Unfortunately, putting your game on a website without any advertising is not the best marketing strategy in the world, and Human went mostly unnoticed. But then he had an idea. He could gift the game to small streamers for free, and in exchange, they would provide him with hours of playtest footage. It was a win-win scenario for both parties, and though he had modest expectations, his plan worked better than he could have ever imagined. Both streamers and viewers loved the game. And then, suddenly,
Top of the morning to you, ladies. My name is Jacksepticeye.
Hey everybody, I'm Blitz.
My name is Markiplier and welcome to Human Fall Flat. Now this game is a beta, I believe. Ow.
before he knew it, he was receiving tons of comments asking where to buy the game. Everyone wanted to play it for themselves, and fans were begging him to upload Human to Steam. But it wasn't quite ready. Not yet. If this game was going on to Steam, Tom wanted to make sure it was 100% finished. First, he needed to rename the game. Human wasn't exactly a standout title, so he decided to change it to Fall Flat, since that's what you spend most of your time doing anyway. But the game was already known as Human by pretty much everyone. So in the spirit of cooperation, he decided to just mash the two together. Second, he needed to keep the people in suspense. The prototype was going so viral that Tom was concerned it would spoil the full launch. So he pulled it off itch.io completely. With no more distractions, Tom locked in for one final push to get the game ready for its debut. After 9 months of improving and taking feedback, and with only 1,000 euros left in his bank account, Tom was happy with the game. It was time to release Human Fall Flat. July 2016, the game finally releases. Now, I know what you're expecting. All this anticipation, all this buildup. The game is gonna explode in popularity, right? Well, in truth, unfortunately, the game's initial launch was kind of modest. The game received average reviews, and even some recommended that you should just watch it online instead of playing it for yourself.
This is not a banger, and I know bangers.
Still, Tom was satisfied. The launch made enough money that he could provide for his family and continue working on the game, and over the next few weeks, he continues uploading free content updates. As the weeks roll into months, sales slowly begin to pick up. But the game's launch was missing one major feature: online multiplayer. It probably seems like a no-brainer today, but the truth is, Tom never even thought about adding multiplayer until people started asking for it during the prototype phase. Instead, he thought the game would be okay to launch with local multiplayer. But who's playing split-screen co-op on their PC? Players were somewhat dissatisfied. They wanted online play, but Tom believed the game's physics engine simply wouldn't function properly online, so he dismissed it outright. It wasn't until 2 streamers managed to get the game running through Nvidia's screen sharing program and play with each other overseas that Tom came to the realization that it was in fact possible. But he still had his doubts about online play. Would it really be as fun as local? Should he restrict it to friends only to avoid toxicity? Regardless, he brushed up on his coding to figure out a way to get this thing working. After a few weeks, to his surprise, it worked. Online multiplayer was up and running, and it was working better than he had ever expected. His initial plan was for 6 players, but after some more tweaking to the levels, the game was able to accommodate up to 8. Hesitantly, he released the update to the public,
I'm a police officer. Hey.
Oh no, the raft, just hang on. And finally, that explosion of success we were hoping for a few minutes ago became a reality. Within the first month of this update, Human Fall Flat sold 1 million copies. Within 6 months, 4 million. Sales continued to skyrocket on all platforms. Tom kept putting out free updates, and creators continued making content. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any better, Human Fall Flat was about to have an influx of players from a very unexpected place. If you take a look at the Steam Workshop for Human Fall Flat, you'll quickly notice a trend. Almost all of the reviews are in Chinese.
No, it's fine. I just didn't think it would be Chinese.
The thing is, getting a game published in China can be extremely difficult, as there are tons of hoops to jump through and restrictions to get past. Those few games who do manage to get published in China have the potential to receive an astronomical payout. China is the world's second largest gaming market, but they're also massively underserved due to developers, mainly foreign developers, failing to pass all of their publishing checks. Fortunately for Tom, back in 2016, the publisher Curve came into the picture. They loved the game Human and wanted to help make it as big as possible. So Tom agreed to work with them. After helping him jump through the flaming hoops of Chinese game publication, Curve returned with good news. We're in. The game released in China on PC at the same time as the rest of the world for a fairly cheap 48 yuan, about $670 USD. But once online was added to the game, its popularity exploded. They aren't playing it as a puzzle game, but more of an open platform to hang out and socialize, like Minecraft or Roblox or Metaverse. Just kidding. Nobody uses Metaverse. Pretty quickly, China became 60% of the game's user base on Steam alone, and likely a large majority on other platforms as well. When the game launched on mobile in 2020, it only cost 12 yuan and sold 100,000 copies in 30 minutes and another 2 million over the next 2 days. Needless to say, Tom has made it, but he doesn't call it there. Sure, he could peacefully rest on top of a massive pile of Chinese yuan, but his passion for development is still on fire to this day, and he wants to create more. So he ends his solo development arc and hires No Break Games, a studio staffed with talented creatives, to maintain Human Fall Flat, which gives him some room to start experimenting with some new ideas. Tom went from having his card declined at stores to becoming one of the top developers in the world. There's a sequel to Human Fall Flat coming on the horizon, and with a passion unlike anything we've ever seen, it looks like there will be no breaks for Tom.